guys, Danielle Matthews here. I'm coming to you live from Florida. Today is Monday. It is book club day. We are in the literal middle of this book, The Yoga of Relationships, and it is a great book. If you were just joining for the first time or bopping onto this, this is all about miscommunication. And it is probably the seed of most frustrations and issues in relationships that we have. And so this chapter and the next, we kind of lump the two together, are really helpful in helping us discern, okay, well, what is it that's causing the miscommunication and how do we avoid that in the future? And I think it is insightful for everyone. And so many people, right, think, well, oh, my spouse should watch this. My loved one should watch this. No. You need to watch it because it's all on you. Yes, The Yoga of Relationships is the name of the book. It's a great book. Yoga is not really all about postures like most people think it is. It's really about inner wisdom, understanding the science of the mind and the mind-body connection, and there's so much to it. So this chapter is all about clear communication. And if you are joining me live, please let me know that you are here. If you're catching the replay, I always like to know that, so let me know if you're catching the replay. It's good to see you. Hey, Charlotte. Hey, guys, over here on Instagram. So a breakdown of communication, he says, you know, it's not so much about the words that we are saying and learning to communicate clearly. He says, really, it's learning to consciously attune to the other person. All right. So here's the deal. When we have a miscommunication with someone, what he's saying is that rather than getting your words right and knowing exactly what to say or the right comeback or the right, saying it perfectly so they understand your position, what he's saying is that what you need to learn how to do is consciously attune to where the other person is coming from. And in order to do that, you have to remove your own reaction. Now, this is what we've been talking about in previous chapters, the self-awareness, right? This is why it's so crucial, because when you get into miscommunication, typically it's because you've had a reaction to something external and you're getting angry about something and it's not coming across well when you're trying to communicate it. But basically, what he's saying is you need to first understand your own internal response, get it clear, at least create distance from it so it's not overcoming you, right? You're not getting pulled into it. So you remove your own reaction out of the way, and then you can actually see clearly what's going on. All right, so you will have complete clarity. You'll be able to see the situation for what it is, not through a lens of your past. Well, they lied to me before. Well, my previous boyfriend lied to me. Well, my kids are always, manipulating me. No, the past is out of the way and you're completely in the present moment. And when you're completely in the present moment and your own junk is not getting in the way, you can start to see what the other person is actually saying and how they're seeing the situation. And then you don't have to explain yourself. What you need to do, he says, is open your heart. Opening your heart means completely allowing, no judgment, no preference, allowing the other person to be exactly as they're being right now. Totally see them. Most of us just want to be seen, we want to be heard. And in conflict and miscommunication and arguments, right, typically we're not feeling like we're being seen or heard. And so we keep at it until we are, or it just gets blown up, right? And so what he says is if you can switch out of your own reaction, see the situation as it is, and then allow yourself to just open your heart to the other person, it's going to switch things. Your energy will change. They'll feel it, whether they consciously realize it or not. Their heart will feel your heart's resonance. He says, how often do we regret words that we say when we're angry or we're filled with jealousy or sadness or whatever? Sometimes we just say stuff and you can't take it back. Like the words are out and you're like, oh God. And so what he's saying is rather than allowing that internal response, that initial reaction to take over, create space, allow it to be over here, see what is, and then open your heart to what they're needing. People just want to be received for exactly as they are, without being changed, without being pushed. That's what they want. And so give that to them. And when you do that, there's an opening that will happen and communication and dynamics will be able to flow. Once it's tricky, right? Because emotions take us over and we want to go into our internal response, but just think like, who's responding here? Your self-image, your ego got offended by something. And so it's going off the handle, but that's not the truth of who you are. Right? You're the witness to all of it. So go back into that witness space while your ego has its, little hissy fit and just make space. All right? That's the truth of it. So Remember, I taught you an equation, and we've talked about it often. The external world plus your internal response is your reality. And so this internal response of whatever your emotion, your reaction, that's what you really need to tune into. And then when you can remove that, you're able to see the external world for exactly as it is. You're able to accept it exactly as it is. You can receive the person exactly as they are, so you can actually understand where they're coming from. Does that make sense? Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. Like, it's not your typical way of learning how to, articulate yourself and express this. He's saying, no, you don't even need to express yourself. You need to get out of your own way, and then you need to understand what's happening, and you need to receive the other person. And so he says, it's so beautiful on page 56. I'm going to read kind of a paragraph from this because it's so good. He says, people who suffer from the greatest miscommunication are those who see the world as the source of their problems. They think they are always right and the whole world is against them. They are always trying to change external conditions to solve their problems rather than working on themselves. Remember, external world plus your internal response. The people having the most trouble in this world are the ones that are blaming the external world for everything. And they are always going to have problems. All right? He says, accepting responsibility for our part in any misunderstanding is a quantum leap. That's where you start to understand the equation. External world plus my internal response. Oh, I have a piece to play in how this is all playing out and how I'm experiencing things because I'm choosing. I have responsibility over my choice of how I'm being with this. All right. He says, if we are involved in conflict with another person, we should stop and ask ourselves, have I given enough consideration to this situation, to this issue, to ensure that I am fair and objective? Have I chosen appropriate language to communicate my feelings clearly? Am I coming from a place of clarity? Most of the time, we are not. We're engaged in emotions, and so we're coming out of response with emotionally charged stuff, and people are feeling the emotion behind it. They're not hearing your words. And so you have to pull the emotion out, understand, why am I reacting like this? Okay, let's cool off the reaction. Let's just look at it like objectively, okay, well, what's here? And then decide how to be with it and decide how to communicate without the emotion packed behind it. All right? It sounds easy, but it's not when the emotions are raging, but that's what you got to do. All right? He said something really interesting in here. He said, did you catch this? He said, it's not about being right, but doing and saying the right things. So many times when we're in a miscommunication, we're punching him, we're continuing to kind of chip at this situation because we're like, I know I'm right, and this person needs to understand that I'm right. And what he's saying is, it's not about being right. It's about, can you look back at the conversation and can you say that from a very grounded place, without emotional punch and charge and trauma from your past and emotional disturbances from your past coming up, did you calmly state what you needed to say and then remove yourself? That's all you need to do. Did you do and say the right things from a place of clarity? And if you did, then great. All right? Have you not realized that sometimes you cannot change another person's mind and you're not meant to? Right? You just need to work on you. So he says, being in alignment with what we think, what we say, what we feel, and what we do is a rarefied air of integration, and it should be what we all seek to do. Say the things we think, and what we're feeling, we're saying, and we're all doing those things. So it's not like saying that everything is fine, but internally not feeling that everything is fine. No, if everything's not fine internally, learn how to articulate that. Right? Be in alignment in that way. He says that emotions, right, can be really toxic for all of us. We know that. And he talks about negative emotions. He says, look, it's not about not having the emotions. People think enlightenment and like peaceful relationships are just always bliss and wonderful all the time. Like, they're not, because we are humans and we have emotions. And so it's not about not having negative emotions. He says, look, anger, it's normal to have anger, right? These things are normal to be there, but negative emotions are part of our growing. And so if you start to look at it that way, you start to understand that, look, this is just part of my growth. Just as a storm coming through is part of the environment, me getting emotionally triggered and emotionally charged and angry, jealous, upset, resentful, whatever it is, it's part of my own growth. You have to have those emotions. You want to experience the full range of human emotions. That's why you came here, right? Actors don't want to play roles in movies that are boring. They want to do the whole thing. We came here to experience the range of emotions, and what we need to do is just make sure we understand, look, this is a temporary storm moving through, and it will teach us something, right? When hurricanes come through, I'll tell you what, it is fascinating because after a hurricane, living here in Florida, it's hurricane season. I haven't had one yet, but they're coming, I know. When a hurricane blows through, like the next day is so peaceful. There is just something so calm. Everything is so still. And it's like, it's amazing. It resets the environment. And emotions that you're having, they reset you too. They allow you to see what's in there that you need to process. And when it moves out, there's a peace that comes with that. So understand your reactions are typically seeded from, and if you understand this, it's very helpful, that most of our reactions are seeded from not receiving something in the external world that we wanted. Okay, so remember, external world plus our internal response is our reality. Our internal response gets angry when the external world shows up in a way that we don't like. Could have been different, should have been different, wanted it to be different, didn't have to be that way, someone did something, whatever it is. They could have done something, they were unwilling to do it, whatever. The external world has not met your expectation. And so that is the seed of most of your frustrations. Be it the person, the situation, politics, the weather, your health, whatever. Like you are having trouble with the way the external world showed up. So understand that. And understand that the more specifications you have on the external world about how life should be, how it ought to be, how you want it to be, you are going to create more and more occasions for frustration, for anger, for being dissatisfied. Understand, expectations are the seeds of frustrations. Does that make sense? Expectations in relationships, expectations on other people, expectations on the weather, your health, all the things. They are the seeds of future frustrations because the world's just going to go as it's going to go. And you have very little control over it. But you do have control over your internal response. And the more you can just accept what's here as being here and then decide how to navigate it so it's in alignment with how you're feeling and thinking, that's what you need to do, right? It's not saying, oh, just let life walk all over me and my relationship with people don't matter. They can do whatever they want. No, that's not what's being said here. It's saying stop having these expectations. Just show up to every moment as it is and then see how you're getting triggered. Deal with your own trigger and accept the situation as it is and then figure out, okay, how can I, without the emotions of my trigger, decide how to move forward? Are you with me? Okay, this is like, I mean, it's pretty simple. Hard to get there, but pretty simple. He says the next step is determining the origin then of toxic emotions and what role our selfish interests play in them. If we are afraid to face negative emotions head on, we lose the capacity to be objective. Being afraid of fear increases its power over us. So understanding your internal responses is what he's talking about. He's saying, understand where these toxic emotions are coming from. Understand when fear is there, if you're scared to look at it, fear has the power. But when you look at fear in the face, it dissolves it, right? Anger has the power until you look at anger and you dissolve it. Being afraid of fear increases its power over us. If we can face fear instead of avoiding or ignoring it, it will never come back. That's the truth. Fear, false evidence appearing real. That's fear. Developing objectivity by being the witness, toxic emotions dissolve on their own, for they are only the byproducts of misunderstandings. They are powerless in the dispassionate eye of the witness. Once the witness can look at it, it dissolves it. It's like light dissolving darkness. Once you bring awareness to it, it's like, oh, that thing doesn't really matter and it doesn't hold the power we think it holds. Right now, your emotions are holding power over you. Stop it. Okay? Stop letting them. It's not about, triggers are always going to happen. It's not about canceling the trigger. No, it's about understanding the response you're having to the environment and that thing lives inside of you. And so you now need to figure out, well, what is that? And how do I deal with that? Right? So that it doesn't, so there are no more triggers in the future. The triggers are always going to happen. The external world's always going to happen. You're just not going to be triggered anymore. Right? Page 58, I think all of you should like type up, print out. It was awesome. This is like a way to deal with conflict with someone. And he kind of steps you through steps 1 through 11 when you're in conflict with someone, what to look at. And it is really insightful. Did anyone else like, I read that through that like 3-4 times. I was like, whoa, because there's so many layers depending on the frustration rate. I told you at the beginning of this to bring a relationship into mind that's not working for you right now and to apply these things. So if there is a relationship that's not working right now, or you just had something happen over the weekend or today or whatever, right? These are what you can do to help step through that and to help you navigate that and understand and be more accurate with yourself, with your own language, with what's going on with the other person. This was huge. Did anyone like it? I just thought, wow, this like should be taught. Kids should learn this. This is how we should all be taught to navigate problems. And I just love what he said. Be economical in your speech. Say only what is necessary and avoid wasting energy, right? It's the truth of the matter. How many of us fly off the handle and it's like, what a waste. Yeah, Charlotte says great list. I totally agree. All right. He also points out, though, even if you go through this list and it's the wrong timing, it's not going to work out, right? So make sure that you're doing this the right timing, right? If someone's freaking out right now, you might need to just like step back and be patient while they have their response, and then you can have a conversation. But really it comes down to the essence of everything he teaches is over time learning to be self-responsible. Learning to have patience and deeper acceptance of what is going on in the external world, and then becoming self-responsible about your internal response to what your kids did, to what your neighbor did, to what your person at work did, to what your spouse did. You start to have responsibility over yourself, which is the only place you actually ever have any control. So understanding that, being responsible for that, you come to the party with a very different energy, all right? And start to see your role as you're not blaming yourself. So let's be clear. And he kind of draws this out too. Is being self-responsible doesn't mean, oh, it's my fault. I did it. Why'd I act this way? No, it's just going, oh, interesting. I acted this way. What's that about? That's curious. This is a teaching moment. There's something in me that's not resolved. What do I need to do with that? How do I handle that? What's life trying to teach me right now through this? And then you resolve it inside of yourself. It's not about blaming yourself. It's about figuring out what's in there that's not resolved. Does that make sense? Most people try to just beat themselves up, and it's not about beating yourself up, right? We're all going to slip. We all have these things happen. My teacher, he's like 90, 93, 92, Gurudev, who wrote this, and he says all the time, my mind still, after decades of doing this, still jumps in. And then I catch it, and then I correct myself, but I don't blame myself. I don't get angry at myself. I just accept myself for how I am and realize that this is just programming. It's just how the mind was developed, okay? So on page 60, I want to read this again. I just thought it was so good. Developing compassionate objectivity. This is the crux of it, all right? He says, when we adopt an attitude of dispassionate objectivity in all situations, we develop the ability to see ourselves from the inside and the outside without blame or guilt. Now we can see problems clearly. Compassionate objectivity is essential for moving from self-blame to self-acceptance. Exactly what I was just saying. When you can pull back and you can look and go, oh, that's why I acted that way. I'm not going to blame myself and I'm going to get upset about it. I'm just going to like compassionately hold myself in this space and look and go, okay, how could we work on that, right? What could we do so that next time it's more graceful how I'm interacting, right? And not blame yourself, but accept yourself. He says, through compassion and objectivity toward others, we can also help them transcend their problems by offering new perspectives that only loving objectivity allows. Because here's the deal. Once you learn how to do it with yourself, I'm telling you, it's like the key to now being able to see why other people are the way they are, why they're doing what they're doing, why they're seeing the situation like they're seeing it, why the miscommunication happened. It's like, oh, and then you can help them see. You can open their eyes to this internal response that's causing problems within them. He says, psychological techniques may be able to bring people out of their difficulties, but they cannot give perspective that will sustain them in the conditions, let me try that again, that will sustain them in that condition long enough to transcend the problem. Without clarity and comprehension, they will soon fall victims to the same problems. If you do not understand that it's not the fact that your parents treated you a certain way, it was that they treated you this way and you had an internal response to it. So it's not about understanding that situation. It's about understanding the internal response you had. And that's the thing that solves the problem for forever, right? It's not a temporary fix or like a psychological understanding of a certain situation. It is the permanent fix to being able to solve all of your problems all the time by realizing, oh, something in me is being triggered here and I need to figure out what that is. Is that I don't feel good enough, I don't feel heard, I feel abandoned, I feel whatever. There's something in there that's deeper than any situation and dynamic that's out there right now. And he says, with inner communication comes realization. What we perceive as problems created by others actually lie within us, and therefore we're the only ones who can remove them. You can't go to the past. You can't change how your parents were. They were doing the best that they were. The only thing you can go to is your internal response to what happened. That is where your power lies. That is where you can go. And so no one else is responsible for that. It's you. You're responsible for how you're internally being with that. And he says this realization, and a realization of this magnitude, does not emerge at a purely mental level. It can only happen experientially at the heart level. We may hear logical explanations over and over, but only when we listen with the heart do we know the deep implication of these truths. Then we see the change for ourselves that each new realization brings. So it's like, I can tell you this, I can tell you this, I've told you this, I've told some of you this for over a year, right? And it's like, if you can understand at the level of the mind, but until you apply this, that's why I said, bring a person into your awareness, because until you apply this into a relationship dynamic that is happening right now, and you learn to open your heart and understand that, whoa, there's like 4 people having a conflict, right? It's like you and your past and them and their past, and really it's your past having conflict with each other, because it's filtering how you're seeing the situation right now. Once you see that every dynamic is that, you start to figure out your own past and what's causing your inability to accept this and why you're getting upset and triggered. And then you start to see why their past, what their filter is. And then, probably not in the moment, but eventually you can help them see that. And then you're interacting in the present moment with each other, because you've dealt with your past, or you're not letting your past trigger one another. Does this make sense? Like, that's what you're going for. And until you are in a situation where you open your heart and you do this, you will not understand the power of what I'm saying. Right? At the level of the mind, it sounds great. But until you do it, it's not going to sink in. So you got to do it this week. Okay? You got to do it this week. Not that I want you to have conflict or miscommunication, but it happens all the time. And so just stop, run through the list of things that you're to put out there, the Unmet decide put out there, and then you'll feel it in your heart in a very different way. All right? I thought it was really interesting. He pulled an excerpt from a dialogue with a mom at the end of the chapter here. And it's funny because I listen to him speak twice a week. And, you know, there are new guests coming in all the time. And so many of them always say, oh, I wish my daughter was here. I wish my husband was here. I wish my son was here. I wish so-and-so was here. They always wish the other person was listening to this. And he always laughs. And he did it right here with this excerpt. I'm so glad he put this in here. Because he says, everyone always says that. Everyone always wishes that the other person in the challenging dynamic were here to hear this so they changed. And he says, no. You're missing the point. You need to change. It is not the external world. It's not them that needs to change. It's how you're being with them that needs to change. And that's on you. And it's way easier to ask other people to change versus have to take the self-responsibility and do it ourselves. But if you do, it will liberate you. You will not have conflicts that cause stress in your system. Like, it just is not going to happen. All right? So you just look internally and you go, okay, what's going on with me? And so, you know, he offers this lady, because this woman was having trouble with her child. Like, her child won't do her homework when she's telling her to do her homework. And there's just this conflict all the time. She's like, I'm trying to help my kid, and my kid's getting angry at me and won't listen to me. But all I'm trying to do is help her. No, and he says, look, you got to pull back. You know, here's what he said if you didn't read it. He says, they wish the other person were here to learn these lessons, but it all comes down to you and your ability to communicate clearly. It is your responsibility to help her understand without making demands. So in this dynamic of the kid with the homework, he says, explore why she resists instead of forcing her to study. So pull back. The mom was having a reaction. She needs to listen to me. Why doesn't she listen to me? I do everything for her. I sacrifice for her. That's the internal response she's having. Mom needs to put that aside. Mom needs to look at the situation and go, why is she being this way? How is she viewing me telling her and controlling her and demanding of her certain things? How is she viewing this? Understand the feelings there. Understand the lens the daughter is looking at this situation from, because the daughter is not seeing it as an act of love. It's an act of, you know, being controlled, probably is how she's seeing it. And so he says, then discuss her feelings. So then ask, how are you feeling? Why are you feeling that way? What's going on? When I say this, how does it make you feel? If you let go of your demands, you will win. Once you fully receive the person, so what I said, remember, people just want to be seen and heard, and they feel like they're not, and so they punch. Once you receive the person and you fully understand how they're feeling, it's amazing. They choose to change. You don't have to say anything. It's just like, thank you for hearing me, and okay. And like the resistance goes down because their heart opened because they were finally seen. Does this make sense? Like it's like a magic trick. He says, she thinks she wins, so both of you feel good about it. This approach creates the basis of your relationship with your daughter as she grows from childhood to adulthood. Understanding, respecting, honoring the feelings of the other person. You want it done to you, so do it to them first. Feels great. All right. Don't tell them to change. You change. You understand? Radical responsibility. That's what it's all about. All right. That was chapter 7. Chapter 8 was short and sweet, and it was to the point, and it was all about gratitude and basically saying, when you are having difficult times, when you are miscommunicating, when your relationships are going awry, when things aren't happening the way you want, this is the time that you bring in gratitude. Sounds very counterintuitive, but you need to be grateful for what you do have. During difficult times, gratitude is what it's about. And understanding that the difficulty is because life is trying to teach you a lesson. You are having an internal response. You're not liking how life is showing up. You're angry about something they did. Something is happening. You've been put into a situation where you're boxed in by this situation and you're angry you're in the box. But the reality is you can't change it. You're in the box, right? So, all right, ask, what am I supposed to be learning here? What is this supposed to be teaching me? What am I not seeing within myself that's having a problem with this? That's the key to getting out of the box. Okay, is understanding how you're being with it. You know, what is life trying to teach me? That's the question to ask. What is this challenge making possible? And to express gratitude for what you have, because the truth of the matter is, maybe 10 years ago, you were praying for a relationship, and that's all you wanted. And now you're in one, and you're angry about the fact that you're in one because they didn't do exactly what you wanted. Be grateful that you have a relationship. Be grateful that you have someone that you love enough that, you know, you had this kind of conflict with them, because you don't have conflict with a lot of other people. It means you must have really loved them if you're having conflict with them. So you got to experience love. Be grateful for that. That's what he's saying. That gratitude, it does something in your heart. That's what helps to open your heart. Okay? All right. The last part, he says, realists know the secret to genuine happiness is being grateful and happy right now with whatever we have. It is effortless joy, joy without a cause. It comes from a deep wellspring of trust and faith, trusting that it's all unfolding exactly as it's meant to. Everything is happening exactly as it's meant to for your highest conscious evolution. Grasping for what we don't have is greed. Gratitude for what we do have is grace. He says, receiving what we have from a place of non-ego is pure grace. Do not ever claim it or take credit for it. When your ego claims other people and things and whatever, it gets involved and it just creates terrible dynamics. When we are in this space, we not only feel full, others sense it as well. That peace that comes from grace emanates gratitude and equanimity. And it is why when you're in that space, when you are able to find that space of being grateful, it changes everything. It's a higher vibration. And so literally all these other difficulties that are happening have to attune to the highest vibration. The highest vibration in the room wins. You have to learn to hold it, and gratitude will help you hold it. He says, when you are joyful from grace, all good things naturally come without asking. Why? Because everything's drawn to it. Just how it goes. It's absolutely how it goes. So, chapter 9 is next. It's all about forgiveness. Interesting concept. And yeah, we'll discuss that. So if there's anything you want to say or discuss, we've got the Telegram chat. Please put it in there. I will post this up on the YouTube playlist, so it's there too for everybody. And I appreciate starting the week with you guys. I love it. These discussions are fabulous. And go get into some sort of conflict so you can do this list, right? Apply this so your heart opens and you realize the power of it. All right, guys? Have a good one.